It's amazing what Yvonne said, because even I had notes, exhibit A, but I said to myself, you know what, let me just talk to those things. Can we talk to each other? Yes. Can we just talk to one another? This is not a lecture. I've not come here to talk at you, okay? I'm glad we're not a big crowd, social distancing and all. I'm glad I'm not standing up on a platform, because I want us to just talk to each other. Is that okay? It's the end of the year now. I entitled my sharing, Get in the Driver's Seat. This year has been very interesting, hasn't it? This year has been very, very interesting. Now, I'm a speaker, I am a trainer, I am an author, I do books. I actually would like to offer you my book. Let me read my book. I have a book, Play to Win. And Play to Win talks about how to identify, how to find the talent that God has given you, and how to use it to your advantage. And so we start 2020. We had just moved into new offices, we had gotten new staff. We were very, very hopeful about how the year is going to be. By mid-March, shut down. Now, the business of training involves people sitting together. Okay? It involves people being in conference rooms, in training centers, in hotel rooms. So what happens to our revenue? Zero. Zero. Now, back up a little. 2 years ago, my marriage had gone. I've been married for 24 years. I have 4 children, maybe I need to say that in introduction. I have 4 daughters, and I have 1 grandson. He just turned 12. And 24 years in, you know how you are in this Christian, how who was raised in a Christian family? There is the conduct expected of a Christian girl. You stay married. You stay married, regardless of what's going on. You're a nice Christian girl. So when I said it wasn't working, you know how my family will react, right? So I'm going through all of that, and I'm going through all of this in business. You know, you wish, like the other speaker was saying, you wish the issues of life would come one at a time. You know, one thing comes at you, you deal with it and go back to normal, then another thing comes. But things tend to pile up one after the other. So for me, all this is happening, it's just the final straw. So we go into March, 0 revenue. We were in the middle of training programs. You know, you have a 6-week program, you have a 3-month program. Things were looking good. I had all sorts of plans. I was going to do this by the end of the year. We had planned. Now, incidentally, everyone in my family was turning around the number. I was turning 50, my twins were turning 25, my other daughter was turning 20, my other daughter is turning 16. So we had combined all our birthdays in one birthday, and we were traveling very far. So it's a good year. Yes. We had plans. We knew nothing of what was coming. So March, 0 shillings comes in. April, 0. May, 0. By the end of May, I received a letter. By that time, we forgot going to the office long time ago, right? You remember how long ago we were spending our whole day in lockdown. I received an email. Notice of eviction. Please vacate these premises by the 31st. How many days are between 27th and 31st? 3 days. 3 days. If you're Kenyan, you are rich, you have a home in town and you have a home at church. True or false? Worst comes to the worst, to humble yourself and go to your mom and dad. Except Nairobi is in lockdown. You can't leave. Because I figured I could put all my money in the car and petrol and just go home. But Nairobi is shut. And I remember thinking to myself, things cannot possibly get worse. Things cannot possibly get worse. And I want to share with you 3 things that I did that ensure that I'm alive and standing here today. Do you like me to share that? Yes. The first thing I did was this. I accepted my situation. I accepted and took full responsibility. Listen, when you know the person who is to blame, then you can't act. Is that true or false? I can sit you down and tell you the reason I did not have money was because my ex was not sending me money. It's true. But does that solve the problem? I can sit down and say the reason I was in this position was because of COVID and all businesses are shut down. But does that change the situation? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So I completely accepted the situation. accept yourself. Take responsibility for where you are. Where you are today, and we're not just talking about finances, where you are in life, in your ambition, in your goals, and we're going to be talking about a lot of that. Where you are today is by your own doing. It's only the things that you take responsibility for that you are able to take action and change. Anything that will ever happen to you is going to happen because of something you did. When you look in a mirror, I like where you guys work. There's a lot of mirrors. I like mirrors. I happen to think I'm a beautiful woman. I like to look at a mirror every once in a while. Don't worry, I'll talk to you about that. I talk to myself more than I talk to other people. Okay? So, the person who looks back at you when you look in a mirror, that's the person who is going to do anything to change your life. A lot of times we go back on ourselves because we disappoint ourselves, we do less than we can because we are expecting something to happen to us. Things don't happen, things are made to happen. And the only person who will make anything happen in your life is you. So the first thing I did was I accepted my situation. I am this business person who clearly has done something wrong. Because if I'm saying my business is suffering, that suggests that all the training businesses in the world are suffering. Was that true or false? False. There is somebody in my line of work who was making a fortune. So there's something I'm doing wrong. Okay? You cannot say salon business is doing badly unless all the salons in Nairobi close. If there's somebody somewhere who is in your career who is doing well, chances are there's something you're doing wrong. And you know, as Africans, we are good at blaming. We are very, very good at blaming. This person hates me, this person talks badly about me, so what have you done about it? Right? So take full responsibility. That's what I did. The second thing I did was I asked for help. Because obviously, there is something I don't know, the knowing of which will change my life. And so I reached out to somebody who knew better than me about the training business. And I took their advice, which was the third thing that I did. I took massive action. The end of the year is always a good time to reflect through our lives. Because God has a way of giving us a fresh new start every year. Usually, and there are several times when you evaluate your life. I don't know if you're like me, but my birthday is one of the times when I evaluate my life. The end of the year is another time because I look back and I'm like, what have I achieved? How is my life better today than it was 1st of January? If I look at if my birthday comes around, I ask myself, okay, last year this time, where was I? In various areas of your life. Money is not the only area of your life. There are very many other areas of your life. Look at your life and you ask yourself, okay, how well was I doing last year? How well am I doing this year? And for me, because I was turning around the number, it was such a huge, because best case scenario, if I need to be 100, I've already lived out my life. True or false? I've already lived out my life. So I had to look at my life and ask myself, okay, what is wrong with this picture? People my age have become presidents of countries. People my age have built cities. People my age have done big things. How is it I'm struggling to feed my family? You can see the problem. I had to take full responsibility. I asked for help and I took massive action. Ever since COVID, I do not know night from day. I do not know Monday from Sunday because my business is not always. We have trainings where we have people attending from Asia, where people attending from America, where people attending from Uganda, from all parts of Kenya. So, for somebody, it's afternoon right now. For somebody, it's evening right now. They get in touch with me, they reach me. Because I decided I had to change the way my life is looking. And so when I was invited to come and speak here, I thought to myself, what will I share with these ladies? And I thought, let me tell you this. Get in the driver's seat of my life. How many of you have ever seen a car that was driven by more than one person? Even the driving school cars, they have a separate set of pedals. But at the end of the day, who is at the steering wheel? One person. One person is at the steering wheel. And I wanted to share, before I open up the session to questions and interactions, I wanted to share 3 tips on how you can get in the driver's seat of your life. And the first thing you want to do, and I want to talk about very practical, easy to do things, because somebody said this and I agree, that success is the study of the obvious. Success is the study of the obvious. The people who make it, the people who win medals, the people who become millionaires, the people who build big businesses are not any different from you. How many of you have ever met somebody who's supposed to be very big? Think about the biggest person you've ever met. Maybe it was a very rich person, maybe it was the CEO of a big company, maybe it was a politician, a minister. How many of you have met somebody that you know from TV? What was your reaction? How did you feel when you met them? Like, they're so normal, they're so ordinary. Did you feel like that? You've been told about this person. First of all, if you know someone from TV, they look very small. When you finally see them, when you're not lying, you're joking. They are a lot smaller than they looked on TV, true? And when you interact with somebody, some big politicians and whatever, head of state even, you meet them and you're like, they are so human. They are so human. Or they crack a kawaida joke. Things you and I say to each other. And you're like, there's nothing presidential about that joke. You know? I'm saying this to say that extraordinary things are done by ordinary people. Very, very, everybody started somewhere. There is no skill required which you don't have. There is no connection required which you don't have. There is no special circumstance of any kind which you don't have. Because where you be tomorrow, you're going to be having this same, you might have this same session next year. And how your life will have changed from today will be something that you will have done, not something that will have happened to you. So I want to share 3 tips on how you can get in the driver's seat of your life. And the first point is this: always look your best. Study of the obvious. How many of us are looking their best today? This is your best. This is your best. Then you couldn't possibly, if you are going to be the head of state today, you would not need to change. You look your best. Anybody? I didn't think so. Why do you not look our best? Have you ever had a situation where you're saying, I don't know. I'm going to be this person out there. I want those shoes. Those are the shoes. And I want to wear that dress. There's one interesting thing about life. We are all praying for something. Is there anyone who's not praying for something right now? There is something you're talking to God about. True? Yeah. How does God answer prayers? God answers prayers through people. True or false? True. Have you ever received a check from heaven? My child needs 350,000 shillings to go to the university. Here's a check of heaven. No. God will find somebody who will talk to somebody, who will ask your uncle or your boss or a loan or a bank manager. A human being is who will make your answers. True or false? Mm-hmm. Now, how did you know when you left home this morning that you're not going to be that person? But if you knew that, you are on your best dress. True? Mm-hmm. If you are going to meet that person who is going to connect you with your destiny, you are on your best dress. Mm-hmm. But you don't know that you meet them or not. Do you agree with me that you needed to wear your best dress today? How many of you have been promised tomorrow? Like you can swear on the Bible, Christine, I'll see you tomorrow. None of us is promised tomorrow. Look your best today. You guys are in the business of beauty. Come on. You're in the business of beauty. There are people who have refused to touch me. Can I give you the customer's perspective? There are people, I will look at your nails and I will say, no, thank you. Doctor, treat yourself. Always look your best in this day of social media. In this day of social media, everybody and their cousin is carrying a camera. True or false? 20 years from today, you might want to run for public office. And a picture pops on fighting when you're like, by the time you leave your gate, be sure that the way you're looking is okay to be in the newspaper tomorrow. That's a very high standard. That's a very, very high standard. As in the way I'm looking today, give people a picture, you make a gazette, I'm okay. Sometimes when you leave your house, you're going to buy milk. True or false? True. You're going to the local shopping center. You're not coming to speak in front of people. Guess what happened one day? I forgot that advice. Okay? I forgot that advice. Some of you are old enough to remember. There used to be enough at UK. Who remembers? Yes. The age is shown. And there used to be, that supermarket was 24 hours. Who remembers? Yes. One day my family and I decided we are going shopping. It was 11:30 in the night. It's a 24-hour store. It was July. Okay? You know how you have a favorite sweater? Kipolone, kikubwa, kimeshika. I put it on. It's 11 o'clock. If we are going shopping, what are you dressed up for? I meet a friend of mine. Went to with her. She's off to a birthday party. So we meet in the night. I'm going to make some Now, if you had found her talking, she was humble, she didn't point out how I looked. But if you had found her standing on the aisle, you would have thought one person is the other one, grandmother. True or false? You never get a second chance to make a first impression. I'm going to repeat that. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. People make up their minds about you within 5 minutes of looking at you. Macho hayana? Yeah. You never get that. Imagine it chatting for my You never get that chance. You want to look your best the first time. People make up their minds whether they can trust you by looking at you the first time. I don't have to be there at this point too much because you guys are in the business of beauty. Do your hair just before it needs to be done. Do your nails just before they need to be done, before it's noticeable by the rest of us mankind. Get it done. You want to bring your A game every day. Because how do people choose? I'm sure you've heard this expression. Don't judge a book by how do you judge books? By the cover. When have you walked to a bookshop and say, give me a chair, I want to read all the books so that I can buy one. You first glance at all the books. Once gets your attention, that's the one you pick. There might be a dull grey book there that has great content, but you don't find out. There might be a very trustworthy person, a very, very reliable person, whatever service that you're offering, but they don't get a chance because they don't look good. A sales manager taught me this once and I loved it. I borrowed it. I was working in a sales position and the sales manager told us this. I've forgotten. The world likes good-looking people. Stop trying to change the world. Okay? The world likes. How many of us have ever seen a nappy baby? Have you ever seen a nappy baby? Babies are beautiful. So it is something we have done that makes some people beautiful than others. See, all babies are beautiful. So there is something I'm doing, and I read this and I agree with it. That if a girl is 16 and she's not beautiful, it's not her fault. But if a woman is 60 and she's not beautiful, it's her fault. You've gone through life frowning. How do you think you will look when you're 60? You will not look beautiful. The world likes good-looking people. People don't necessarily look very good based on products and budget. True or false? Yes. It's not necessarily the hair I was born with. There is something about my internal that will make me a better looking person. Do you agree? The world likes good-looking people. Stop trying to change the world. That is one job where we were taken on looks. I'll tell you why I got that job. They put an advert in the paper, they're employing people for marketing department, for marketing, and anybody can apply. I said to myself, because they said, I don't even think they asked for it. I think they said a degree in anything. They didn't say, but you know when you have a long list of requirements for a job, they just said be at this office at this time on a Saturday morning. They said be there at 8 o'clock. I was there at 6:30. Because I said to myself, and it was true, I was among the first 5 people to enter. The queue was meandering out into the ground and out the road. Because they say apply and there's a lot of people who need a job. So they appointed a few of us and we interviewed you for 5 minutes and say come on Monday for training, come on Monday for training. So when we arrived on Monday, We looked at each other and we were in a room like this. We looked at each other and we agreed, okay, clearly this one was on looks. Now, so when we went to the training that they now sifted far. But the first thing they did was to pick us on looks. Listen, stop trying to make the world fair. The world is not fair. Okay, the world is not fair. The book I just offered you, the one I'll give you a week about, is the subtitle of the book is The World is Not Fair. Play to win because the world is not fair. Okay? Quit thinking life will never be fair, life is not fair. So play to your advantage. The first thing you do is always look your best. Okay? Always look your best, regardless of where you're going, regardless of who you're meeting. Number 2, always be on time. Are there any Kenyans in the room? Yes. We're called a meeting in Kenya, and I live in Kenya, and I do meetings for a living. If I call a meeting for 8:30, what time do Kenyans arrive? If you attend an event, a wedding, a party, a graduation, whatever, what's the first thing the person who holds the microphone first, what's the first thing they say? In Kenya, we apologize that we are starting late. Who is that? If we plan to have a wedding, the wedding will be on Saturday at 10:30. We go to the length of printing and saying the wedding will be at 10. If you go to the event, if the venue at 10, what do you find? I've been to events where you arrive at the time you were told to come, and there is no sign. There is no sign. There is nobody there. Look, you have the sign. Am I in the right place? Of Sharon and David, is it not today? Oh, darling, watakuja. I want you to think of somebody you know who is very successful. I want you to think of someone you know who is very, very successful. Whether he's your relative or your friend, whether it's a he or a she, who are very successful either in business or in career. Do they come late? No. I'm sure you've had this thing, Kenyan time. Have you heard of Kenyan time? Okay. There's 1 or 2 gentlemen in the room and they'll help us here. If on Saturday at 2 o'clock, there is a match between Arsenal and Manchester. Okay? And guys are meeting together to have a drink and watch the game. The game is at 2 p.m. What time do they get to the bar? 1. So that they park, they finish with work, they settle down, they check each other out, they order, they settle before the match starts. Are they still Kenyans? Yes. So Kenyan time is not genuine. Kenyan time is not genuine. I had this friend growing up who couldn't keep time to save her life. She couldn't. I got to the place, I processed it. I was like, if I'm going to get angry with her because she didn't come on time, the friendship will be over. So if I wanted her at 11, I told her at 10. So that, because me, I usually I'll arrive the time you tell me to arrive. So, one day we had this event in church. And I get there and I find her there. Because me, I arrived on time. The event is at 9, I come at 9. She's there already. She usually comes for me an hour and a half late, 2 hours late, and those were the days we were in college. We were meeting in town. There were no mobile phones then. I betrayed my age. So I arrived in town, and you call her. You know you can't see her, so you go to the phone booth and call their house. She answers. She's still at home. We're in town waiting for her. She answers the phone. She's like, oh, you know my mom was giving, so she offered me a ride. So now she sat down and waited for her mother to offer her a ride to come and meet with me. So can you see why I'm so surprised when I find her in church that day? Ask her, yeah. You mean you can keep it? Because by then I've settled for her, it's biological, it's DNA, she cannot keep time, it's a sickness. She tells me, here, but this is church. I was like, oh, it's a function of priorities. It's a function of priorities. If you're meeting someone, one of the most respectful things you can do is to be on time. If you have agreed that you're going to do my hair at 10:30, please be ready for me at 10:30. If you're not going to manage at 10:30, let me know in advance so that I can do something else during that time. Because there's only one thing we are given fairly: time. All of us get the same amount of time. I have a friend that I like to use as an example, and I do this with permission. The gentleman is an architect, he still is. He comes from a well-to-do family and he had gone abroad and he had studied architecture. And he had come back to the country, he had connections, his family is very well-to-do. And so he got a client who very early in his career, he had not been here more than 6 months when this happened. He got a client who was putting up 750 flats in Kigali. Is that a small job or a big job? This person is building an entire estate in Kigali. You're a young architect. You're fresh out of college, you've been out of college about 1 year. That is a huge job. Would you agree? That's a huge, huge job. And so they meet, and she gives him the details. I'd like it to be like this. They took a few, and then she was going to draw up the draft, you know. Now they scheduled a meeting about a week hence, and they're going to meet up to go into further detail. Okay? And so they agreed that they are going to meet at this lady's office in Westlands, and they agreed that they were going to meet at 10 a.m. And so we call, confirm, we'll see you at 10 o'clock the following week on this day. On the material day, he arrives in his office at 8:30. And he was going to print the draft. You know this long, this huge printouts that architects usually have? He was going to print it. So he arrived in his office at 8:30, and in true Kenyan fashion, the lights are off. So he can't print. So he frets and panics and panics and oh my God. About 15 minutes later, power comes back. Phew. And he starts printing. And the printer is acting up. And then it will go wrong, it will go wrong. Yeah. About 9 o'clock, client calls. Hi, I'm calling to confirm our appointment. Are we still meeting at 10? Yes, we are meeting at 10. Kenyan behavior, right? We are meeting at 10. So he finally manages to finish printing at about 9:45. Rolls up quickly, puts the roll, rushes to the car, and gets into Westlands traffic. He needed to cross Mweteeli to the other side. He's in traffic until about 10:45-ish. So he arrives. Everyone's up the step. True Kenyan fashion. He leaves the sky. Nakuja kupark gari. Kimbia mbio. Gets to the office. A client was sitting in the boardroom at the head of the table. And he arrives. Oh my God, I'm sorry, I'm late. Is that happening? Is this? She's like, no, don't worry. I'm also having your printouts. Just please have a seat. And he has a seat. And she says, I can see that you have a promising career coming up. I am impressed with the work you have started to do all of that. But I want to make sure that you never do this to anyone. When I called you that was the time to tell me all these things you're trying to tell me now, the electricity went off, the traffic did, for you to come here to work, unless you moved yesterday, unless you moved this Saturday, do you know where you live? Do you know the traffic where you live? So for you to come here to work and tell me you were in traffic, is that a good excuse? So, when I told you at 9 o'clock was the time, you should have explained all these things to me. Because I could have spent this hour doing other things. I have been sitting here the whole hour waiting for you. I want to make sure that you never do this to another client. I'm going to find another architect for this job. Do you think that chap has ever been late since? Does he still live in Nairobi? Is he still Kenyan? He paid too high a price. He paid too high a price to ever be used. Experience is the teacher of fools. You don't have to wait until you lose a big job for you to learn that lesson. If you can learn it from my friend, it will be greatly beneficial to you. I am proposing that if you ever tell me you're meeting me at 10:30, be there at 10:30. Whatever is humanly possible. If you have told me that you will open this Very recently, I went to the gym. I got the gym money in the morning. I get there, and the gym will not open. I got that exact time when the open is 5:30 in the morning. And when you call the person who was on duty to call the manager and is trying to find somebody, it wastes a lot of people's time. It wastes a lot of people. Then that day, I just don't have money because I had a particular set time. I had to move on to the next day. The biggest respect you can give to anybody is to appreciate the value of your time. Money, I can make it again, but time once spent is never recovered. That was drummed in my high school so much that you remember it over and over. Time once lost is never recovered. If I lose this 30 minutes waiting for you to text me I'm running late, I'll never recover that time. I will never recover that time. So we have said, you're going to get in the driver's seat of your life. The first thing that you want to do is always look your best. The second thing we have said is always be on time. Barring a catastrophe, mobile phones have come, ladies and gentlemen. Barring a catastrophe, if you are meeting with you at noon, I have not heard from you and you don't show up at noon, I should panic. Because I would think, that's very unlike her. She never does that. There's a lady who used to work in my office at one point. And we go a lot on training, so we travel with her all the time. There's a place I used to pick up on the road with this training. She used to be my sister. She was never late once. She was never ever. There's no time I got to the spot I'm supposed to pick her and she wasn't there. Ever. All the time she worked for me. And then years later she has left the job and I was called by somebody, I was emailed, we are giving this lady a job, please give a recommendation. What do you think I did? I called them physically. I wrote them a recommendation, but I called them. I told them, you want to hire that lady. Because the way you keep time tells people that you're reliable. It tells us that, and listen, there is competition. There is nothing you do, nothing that you do that 10,000 people cannot be found in Nairobi to do it for less than your charge. Would you like me to repeat that? Yes. There is no service, there is no product that you sell in Nairobi which cannot be found by another 10,000 people can do the job you do and charge less than you charge. You have to give us reason to choose you. Because everybody is in competition. The last thing that you do, the last thing that you want to do is to keep people waiting. Because they won't wait for very long. Why would I wait for you? If saved in my phone are 100 other, whatever service it is that you're offering, why would I want to wait for you? You want to give people a reason to choose you. The third thing you want to give, you want to get from the driver's seat of your life is do more than is asked for. Do more than is paid for. Don't do barely enough. Do a little more. If I'm paying for you to do something, do a little extra. Do a little extra. And there are easy examples in your line of work, aren't there? Do a little extra. Because it is that little extra that will keep me coming back to you. Do something a little extra. Previously, we used to buy our vegetables. Nowadays, we buy them chopped at no extra fee. True or false? We used to buy our meat in a chunk. We now buy it chopped and packed. True or false? A little extra. You want to give yourself a competitive edge. Whatever it is that you're doing in life, you want to give yourself a competitive edge. Because we agreed in the beginning that where you will end up next year at this time will be based on something that you did. Ask yourself what it is you'd like to achieve in your life. And when you ask that question, don't keep your dreams small. Keep your dreams very, very big. If you're going to pray a prayer that is worthy of God. Don't pray for things that your father can get for you or your auntie can get for you. This is God you're asking. Ask for something big. Ask for something big. Don't be the one to put yourself down. The world is putting you down all the time. True or false? You can't be also the one putting yourself down. So if your dream, let me use an example of money. If your dream was to have $1 million, add another zero on that. Add another zero. Because the people who have those things are flesh and blood, and we have agreed there is no one more special than you. There is nobody more special than There's no one who had a better background than you, so it's their background that does something. There is no one who is taller than you, so it's their height that does it. There is no one who is fatter than you, so there is just nothing that you are lacking that will take you where you're trying to go. So if you remember those three things, always look your best, always be on time, and always do wrong. That is history. That is going to help. That will put you in the driver's seat of your life. And your life will always get better and feel better as you go. Right?